Welcome back. As you may or may not know, I am known as Eli, the computer guy. My current project is silicondojo.com, basically where I try to make technology education as accessible as running water to people. And we'll see how this project goes. Anyways, part of the project is I actually have conversations with my students every Monday between 1 to 5 p.m. I sit there and have Zoom calls. We also do a lot of other things, and I get a lot of questions from folks, and so I figured I would sit down and answer some of the frequently asked questions just so they're there, right? Why set up a one-on-one appointment when you can just watch a video where I've already talked about whatever issue it is that you've had? So anyways, what I want to talk about today is the concept of, will AI kill junior level developer jobs? And the answer is, I think this is gonna make you a little bit happy. Yes, it is going to completely and utterly devastate the junior development level of our profession. And you might be sitting there going, wait a minute, why is Eli saying that with a smile on his face? Why is that a good thing? Well, they say uncertainty breeds stress. Like when you're not sure about something, you get agitated, you get angry, you get stressed, the whole 9 yards. So now that you know, in fact, AI is going to completely and utterly screw you if you're new to the tech industry, that should put a smile on your face. At least you know what's going on. I'm not lying to you. So some of you might be a little bit surprised when I say that, because I've talked about in other videos the idea of whether or not, quote unquote, AI, it's not artificial intelligence, but AI, will it destroy the technology profession? Will it destroy the profession of coding and the whole 9 yards? And I've said again and again and again, no, in fact, it will not destroy that part of the profession. It will simply modify it. It will simply change it. Again, as somebody that's been doing technology since 1996, I started off fixing green and brown and beige boxes. I then got my MCSE and NT 4.0, dealt with all the Microsoft stuff, wound up having to learn Linux, wound up having to learn Mac, now doing Python and AI and doing education. And that's the thing to be thinking about, is as your career goes by, the technology world will change, right? Again, like there's all these buzzwords out there, right? The young people like to thump their chest and talk about this crap that they don't really want to be true, right? You know, to be a technology professional, you have to be on the cutting edge. The technology profession changes at warp speed all the time, the whole 9 yards. And you see the truth of the lie when the technology profession changes and they all crap their pants. Oh my God. And it's like, yeah, again, it's interesting with the whole thing with, again, AI and coding, where I've talked with some higher level programmers, and they talked about being like code conductors. Again, it's not that coding is going away or needing to know code that's gone away, but the idea is that with AI, instead of you sitting there with one IDE, you're conducting all these different AIs in order to create a finished product. Again, to be clear, I'm not, it's a poetic idea. I don't know, maybe that'll happen. Maybe not. But the important thing to understand here is these are high level, highly paid, highly skilled coders. They don't see their jobs going away. Certain tasks are changing. What their job looks like tomorrow may not be what their job looks like today. That is what we call a career, but they should still be gainfully employed. And again, that's what I talk about, this whole AI thing. Technology changes, right? When I graduated high school, you could make a lot of money being a VCR repair person. You could go to the community college and they had certificate programs to become VCR repair people. Now, if I told you you can make $100,000 a year repairing VCRs in 2025, you'd think I was a damn moron, right? Obviously. So why do you think in 2025 you should be making $150,000 a year for coding in JavaScript? Funny. When somebody else's technology becomes obsolete, that's hilarious. When your technology becomes obsolete, that's a disaster. But anyways, the issue that we are going to be running into is what the hell to do with junior level developers. We didn't want to deal with these people yesterday. Holy hell, we sure as hell don't want to deal with them tomorrow. Again, it's important to understand as a junior level employee is that you suck. You suck so bad. Oh, is there anything worse than a junior level employee? Wait a minute. I have to pay somebody good money to slow down my systems and add bugs into the code? What? That sucks. We're going to talk about this when I have my low computer repair company. And I'd have people come with their A pluses again. So we did computer repair, but A plus is, the junior level for computer repair. They'd be like, Eli, I am certified in A plus, and I am willing to come to work for you for free just so I can get experience. And I have to look at these poor people. I have to look them in the eye and say, I'm sorry, you're too expensive. I'm like, what? What do you mean free is too expensive? It's like, well, I'm paying my technicians a full-time salary. And so to take my actual technicians and basically to have to gimp them by bringing you into this office is just going to slow everything down, and it's going to end up costing me a hell of a lot more money by having you be quote-unquote free work. The fact of the matter is that free employees, free junior level employees are actually shockingly expensive because you have to take your senior level employees essentially to manage and to mentor and to fix all the problems, right? So you take this free person, this inexpensive person, you take this expensive person, you marry them together, and you just get a crap show, right? And so that's the thing, is when you start hiring junior level developers, it's just a disaster, right? Again, think about this. For many development companies, many places we're going to be doing coding, it takes 6 to 12 months to fully onboard you. And basically what onboarding is that's the entire process to get you entirely up to speed so that you can just do your damn job. 6 to 12 months. And that's what skilled coders, mid-level coders, again, knowing, understand the documentation, knowing, understand the naming conventions, knowing who to talk to, knowing how everything works out, right? It takes a long time. And so you take this noob, right? You take this noob straight out of the damn boot camp or straight out of college, you plop them into the environment, and damn, you just see the money shooting out the goddamn windows. Like, fuck. Right? But here's the thing, right? Well, junior developers are so bad, Eli. Why were people hiring them? Well, there's 2 reasons that they were getting hired. The good reason that they were getting hired is that in order to get senior level people, in order to get mid-level people, a couple of years from now, you need to start with the junior level people, right? You got to plant the seed in order to grow into the fruit or vegetable or whatever else, right? So a lot of these companies, they would go out there. Again, they needed qualified technology professionals. If you can't hire the person that you need, a lot of times you got to train up the people so that they'll actually be valuable going into the future. And so that's one of the big things, right? Bring somebody in new. Again, it may take a damn year. I mean, you were just bleeding money for a year with this jackass, but hey, day 367, I don't know. Maybe they can make a function call. So anyways, that's the first reason that juniors were hired. And then the second reason that juniors have been being hired over the past, decade or so is 1% interest rates. Again, do realize you're not really losing your job because of AI. You're losing your job because we no longer have 1% interest rates, right? Money was so inexpensive to borrow that high net worth individuals basically borrowed money to put that money somewhere else to get a return. The idea was that the technology world is the best place to get a return. So they were simply borrowing money at 1%. They were dumping it into all these tech ventures, hoping to get 10, 20, 5,000% returns. And that's why a lot of people got hired, right? So a lot of these tech companies, right? And they didn't have profit. They didn't have revenue. Their user growth was kind of miserable, right? And so they kept hunting. They kept hunting for a different metric to show how they were successful. And if you don't have profit and you don't have revenue and your user growth doesn't make a damn bit of sense, right? Then the question is well, how do you prove to those investors who have all that cheap money that you should get it? And so what they do is they say, look, we are so successful. You can see how successful we are because we're hiring so many people, right? If we weren't successful, we want to be hiring people now, would we? Come on now. Oh, yeah, investors are like, well, yeah, look, they went from 50 people to 500 people. Obviously, they're successful. It's like, well, what's their profit margin? What's the revenue? No? Okay. So anyways, a lot of people were getting hired because, again, your value. Again, one of the things you have to ask, one of the things you really have to ask when you get hired by a company or organization is, what is your value? Why are you actually getting paid? Again, I've talked about this with the whole BLM movement. And again, I fully believe in BLSM. Black lives should matter. They don't. They didn't in 2019. They sure as fuck don't matter in 2025. But they should. And one of the things, I've said to a lot of the people in the diverse groups is, be careful when you're getting hired, right? Are you getting hired because these companies modified the pools of places they were going to look to hire people, and now that they've brought in a different set of people, do they have things in place for mentorship and empowering and the whole 9 yards, right? So again, if companies always went to particular universities to hire, and they went, wow, that's kind of racist, and so they went to different universities to try to hire from that pool, and that's one of the reasons you got hired, right? That's a good thing. Once you're hired into the company, are there steps to actually be empowered, not simply to get promoted, not get a raise, actually empowered? Are you 6 months into your job, are you fundamentally a better technology professional than you were before? If not, you didn't get hired to be an engineer, bucko. You got hired to check a box. I know it sucks, but it's true, right? And again, I warn folks like that about that kind of thing, right? And one of the issues you get with a lot of new people out there is when they get hired, they didn't get hired so that they can be, the next senior engineers. They didn't necessarily get hired because there's a gleam in their eye, and the founders or whatever think, hey, maybe this will be, the person that creates the next amazing product for us or whatever else. A lot of times, how you got hired as a noob, as a junior level dev, is basically they needed an ass in seat. You are literally getting paid $100,000+ a year to be an ass in a seat so that the founders can go out and beg for another $10 million. It is sad, but it's true, right? And so that's one of the issues that we're looking at right now is with these junior level developers. It's just an absolute and utter crap show. And the worst part with this absolute and utter crap show, they think they matter. Because they've been told for the past 5 or 10 years that they're important, right? Again, you get all this stuff, what companies are supposed to do, what managers are supposed to do. Oh, I'll see this on LinkedIn, man. I'll see this on LinkedIn. I'll say all the things a manager is supposed to do. It's like, and wipe your employees' asses along with it. You should be a mentor, and you should be a leader, and you should be a spiritual advisor. You look at this stuff that they lump on bosses, and it's just idiotic. Only a junior level employee would be stupid enough to think any boss is going to do this crap, right? But anyways, right, with the juniors, they've been told for a long time now, you're so important. And so we're running into this big problem where they're not important. The reason they've been hired for so long is because of things that are outside, macro forces that are outside of the things that they have control over. And now the macro forces are changing massively. Again, if we take a look at it economically, I don't know what's happening. Apparently, we're not in a recession. Under Biden, we weren't under a recession, and under Trump, we're not under a recession. We're just under an economic kerfuffle, apparently. Eli, don't call it a recession. Okay, it's a kerfuffle of the money supply, right? It's weird. People are supposedly making more money than they ever have, and they can't afford housing. That's even before you get into things like healthcare. We don't even worry about healthcare anymore. It's like, you can't afford housing anymore. Anyways, we got all of this kind of weird stuff going on. And so like with a lot of these companies, the issue is there's just not as much cash on the table as there were. A lot of investors are pulling back. Not necessarily that they're investing less, but they're investing in more things that have more secure returns on investment. Again, things like real estate, that type of thing, or more secure, more stable or whatever, technology companies, that type of deal. Again, so basically with that, you have companies that are getting less investment, so they actually have to start worrying about how they spend money. Again, you have this whole AI bubble going on right now, and so there's this idea is, hey, how can these companies save a crap ton of money? And how they can save a crap ton of money is by not hiring junior developers. Darn it. Hey boss, yeah, I have some bad news. What's that? We're not going to be able to hire a batch of junior developers this year. Oh, okay. So what's the bad news? It's the truth, right? And so that's the thing, like with AI, if you start looking at AI, right, there's this big push to use AI. At the exact same time, the value of junior level developers have gone down. And so the concept is, hey, can we use AI to do all of those junior level developer tasks? Again, as I say, as a technology professional, AI, quote unquote AI, is simply a piece of functionality. That's the long and that is the short of it. That's it. So if you're a senior level, a mid-level, or a senior level, basically AI allows you to be. Basically it's what's called a force multiplier. It allows you to do more easily. Again, I know Python very well. I don't know JavaScript that well. If I need to create a front end, I know JavaScript well enough to be able to audit the code. So if I'm sitting there and it's like, okay, I created my back end, I have my SQL, I have all that kind of stuff. Crap, I need to create this little front end. I can go to AI, right? I can go to ChatGPT and I can say, hey, I need this little front end. It needs to collect this amount of information. It needs to validate that the information is correct, blah, blah, blah. It'll print it out on the screen. I can take it. Again, I know enough to be able to audit. I'm not doing this vibe code horse crap. I can sit there and audit it, verify. It's like, yeah, okay, that's what it's supposed to do. I can dump it in the thing. And that is the work that a junior level dev would have done. Oh, hey, look, you need a little JavaScript dashboard created. Go talk to the junior level guy or girl and have them create that dashboard for you. It's like, well, I could deal with an absolute and utter pain in the ass that thinks they're actually valuable to the company, is going to give me shit, and probably do some bad coding to boot. Or I can go to AI and just get the problem solved. I wonder what I'm going to do. And I think that's what we're going to see, is we're going to see more and more of the junior level positions getting absolutely hammered. That's the other big problem with work from home. So one of the things that doesn't get talked about a lot yet, it's getting talked about more and more, is the fact of what a disaster work from home is for a lot of the junior level developers. Right? Because the fact of the matter is, junior level developers need to get smacked in the nuts, preferably about 20 times a day. You just walk up, smack them in the nuts, keep on moving. Why do you get smacked in the nuts? You know why you got smacked in the nuts, right? That's the thing. When you're a junior, again, making sure that you're actually doing work and not being on Facebook. Making sure that you're not going on stupid tangents. Making sure that you're keeping track of things. Making sure that, like, there's all this stuff. And that's one of the reasons, good things with having a cube farm or whatever else. As a manager, you can go behind your junior level, your junior developers, and every once in a while you can just smack them in the nuts, make sure they're doing the work that they're supposed to be doing. The problem is, when everything goes to work from home is absolutely fabulous for senior level developers. It's pretty damn good for mid-level developers. It's crap for the junior level developers. And we have a lawnmower. We have the lawnmower races going on right now. Anyways, because the thing is, the senior level developers, they have to be good enough to be able to do their damn job. When they get hired, people know why they get hired. They need to do their job. The mid-level developers, they pretty much need to be able to do their job. And so they're going to go and they're going to do it. Either they complete the projects or they don't complete the projects and they get fired or whatever else. Again, it's the junior levels that it's this weird wishy-washy mush of a space that they're in. And so work from home really is a bad thing for a lot of the junior level developers. And so if you're a junior level right now, you're coming into the workforce, right? You got this work from home garbage. It is absolute trash. If you really want to be a technology professional, do not accept work from home as a junior level. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. Anyways, and then you have this AI thing coming down the pike where they're basically going to be trying to replace you. And so that puts you into a pretty crappy position. And the answer is yes. Does that mean you do not have a technology career because of AI? No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. I mean, if you're willing to put your big boy pants on, your big girl pants on, and actually go out there and do the work that needs to be done, if you're actually going to go out there and you're going to solve problems, if you actually care about this profession for more than the paycheck that you're going to get tomorrow, no, as a career, things are going to keep moving along. Will they change? Yes, they're going to change. Again, convergence. How many of you all know what the term convergence even means? All right, there's something called convergence. So again, back when I started in tech, all the different systems, used different communication infrastructure. Right, telephone systems used Cat3 and 110 and 66 blocks. Computers obviously used Cat5 cable. Surveillance systems use coax cable. Access control systems used low voltage cable. Right, all of this stuff was completely different. Again, you needed different types of skill sets in order to be able to maintain and deal with all these different types of systems. Then we had something called convergence. Somewhere around 2005 is when it became a big deal. Everything converged onto TCP/IP, Ethernet infrastructure, and it dramatically changed a lot of things. Again, if people rolled with it, if you're a telephone system administrator and you rolled with it and went over to VoIP and learned how networking worked and all that kind of stuff, you could still stay in the technology world. But if you didn't roll with it, then yeah, you're no longer in the technology world anymore. Again, when we look at all this AI, quote unquote AI stuff, again, things will change. Again, and they may change massively, but there's still going to be work that needs to be done. So what do you do if you're in this position? You have just been bitch smacked in the nuts by Eli the computer guy to say you're basically worse than worthless. Like worthless would be a step up. You cost fucking money. You cost money. And you're a pain in the ass. So you're being told by me, it's like, okay, so apparently I cost money and I'm a pain in the ass. These companies don't have the investment coming in like they did not that long ago, and AI basically replaces us. What do we do then as junior level developers? And the big thing that I'll tell you is you need to go out there and you need to start getting actual experience ASAP. Again, when you start taking a look at junior level versus mid-level developer, the great thing about being a technology professional is it's just simply about doing work, right? You either have experience or you don't have experience. And the cool part is it doesn't really matter that much where you get the experience. I mean, it does to some degree. I mean, you'd prefer to get the experience on the job. But one of the things I used to tell my students, again, back when computer repair was a bigger deal, is that, if you go out and you repair your grandmother's computer, a Windows computer is a Windows computer. Repairing your grandmother's computer is basically like repairing a CEO's computer. Right? Fixing a home network is actually a hell of a lot like fixing a SOHO, small office network. Right? If you go out there, again, TCP/IP is TCP/IP, whether it's for an executive or whether it's for your mom or that type of thing. So one of the big things is to go out and get experience by hook or by crook. That's one of the weird things I get with a lot of young folks out there. Again, they're crying. They are crying so hard waiting for somebody else to solve their problems. It's not how the world works, buckos. I don't know how the world should work. But how the world does work doesn't work that way, right? So you got a lot of people out there. And again, they like to complain about the corporations. One of the curious things is, again, I get the viewers, I get the students, and we sit there and we're having the meetings, and they're like, hey, Eli, I can't get a job, right? I put out 1,000 resumes, and I haven't heard anything back. I'm like, oh, God. I feel so bad for those bosses. Anyways, and then I'll ask, okay, when was the last time you put anything on GitHub? You don't know how many times these people say it's been over a year since they put anything on GitHub. So it's like, okay, so over a year ago, you were a pain in the ass, worse than worthless, junior level dev that had put a couple of things onto GitHub. It has now been over a year, and so how much of those skills have atrophied, and you haven't even bothered to put anything onto GitHub. You haven't even bothered to do any of the work that we do. Why in God's name would anybody want to hire you for fucking anything? All right? And this comes as a bit of a shock. What? But I went through a boot camp or whatever. You get hired in order to complete work. So the thing that I would argue for a lot of you out there is you need to go and you need to start doing projects. You need to be putting stuff on the GitHub at least once a week. You need to go and you need to talk to anybody, again, by hook or by crook, to get work. Again, there's no shame in being poor. I've been crap poor in my life. When I was a kid, I shopped at the Salvation Army because I had to shop at the Salvation Army. I spent a chunk of my childhood with my bedroom was a walk-in closet. Look, there's no shame being poor. At least that's what I tell myself, right? There's a mountain of shame not doing work, right? There's two different things there. A lot of people are like, well, if I'm not getting paid, why should I do any work? And the problem is, again, for employers, if they're sitting there and they got the 1,000 resumes, they've got to sort through. Why in God's name would they give a damn about your resume if you can't be bothered to post anything to GitHub at least once a week, right? So you need to go out there and you need to find work to do to put into your portfolio. Again, websites still have to get billed for your church or your temple or your synagogue or your kickball league or for some weird ass project that you have going on, right? Don't make it too weird. Don't make it safe. Make it sure it's safe for work, right? And you can put that into your portfolio. Go out there, again, talk with small companies, talk with organizations. There's so much stuff going on right now with things like natural disasters. Did you hear about the flood in West Virginia? Yeah, apparently there was a massive flood in West Virginia and nobody even cared. You know what's worse than Helene hitting North Carolina? At least when Helene hit North Carolina, people cared for like a couple of weeks. They recognized we had a biblical flood before they forgot about us. Apparently there was this massive flood in West Virginia. News didn't even talk about it. News didn't even bother talking about it. It's in West Virginia. Anyways, right? But you've got natural disasters. You have other things going on. What kinds of systems could you create to help support people in those times? Again, things like digital signage. Again, we talk about things like IoT. Imagine if you had, LCD or LEDs, whatever. You have flat screens. You put a little Raspberry Pi on it. You put a little cell modem or something on it. And then imagine if you could have these screens, and so announcements could simply get distributed through some type of web interface. So I could sit down at a web interface. I could say, okay, food. There's going to be food supplies at this elementary school from 10 to 4 o'clock this afternoon. And imagine I could sit there and I could type that out. And instead of needing the email blast and everything else, that could go, and that literally could go on 50 different digital displays all around the area. So if people didn't have cell phones, or the cell phones weren't working or whatever properly, then that is a way to be able to get the messaging out. Again, thinking about things like, if you need to be able to check off that people have been helped, or you need to deliver food or deliver supplies, coming up with little systems to try to make it easier for that kind of thing to be tracked. This is the kind of stuff that you can do. And that is real and actual work. Again, when you put out those 1,000 resumes, and in this time period, when somebody actually has to sit there, and God help them, they have to hire one of you people, if they sit there and they basically look at one resume that doesn't have anything, that has nothing on GitHub or anything for a year, and they look at another resume, and it's like, okay, you built this website, and you built this web app for the floods in West Virginia, and you built this thing, 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 you built this thing, right? That shows motivation, that shows caring. And it also is going to start giving the experience of where does AI matter. Again, one of the most frustrating things I have with this whole AI thing is that you have all these noobs or non-actual technology people talking about AI. Like, not people that are actually doing the code or having to approve the code and that type of thing, right? AI is going to take over the world. Just sit down and use the AI. All you have to do to disabuse your notion that AI is going to take over the world is use it for a little while. Use it in a production environment. I think about that with, I was at All Things Open. So there's a group called All Things Open in Raleigh, the Research Triangle. Absolutely awesome group. Anyways, I've talked about this before. We had the woman there, and she works for the VS Code department at Microsoft, and she works on AI integration with VS Code. Anyways, so we had like 150 people in the room, and she said, okay, out of 150 people, how many of you have been working on and playing with AI to see what it'll do? And like 90% of the hands go up. 150 people, 130 hands go up. She's like, okay, great. She said, okay, out of all of you that have been playing with AI, how many of you have actually deployed a product that uses AI? One hand went up. One hand went up. And the reason is, AI is great on paper. AI is great on paper. Oh, it is quirky as hell. Call it quirky. It is quirky to the power of quirk, right? And so that's one of the things, right? If you go out there and you start building projects for different things, you can start understanding where these quirks are, where these problems are, the whole 9 yards. And that allows you to get experience and gives you something for when you can actually get an interview to go in to try to get a junior level job and basically try to go forward. And so that's what I would argue with a lot of you is you need to take more responsibility for your career and realize that the easy money is just gone. Most of us don't know what the future is going to look like in 5 years. And so you got to be one of the people that's charting the course. Right? Anyways, that's my thought. Yeah. AI is going to be, everything's going to be devastated to the junior level develops. And the worst part is, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for the organizations, and it's going to be bad for society. But I also don't know what to do with it. Because one of the things here, again, so I've been snarky about the juniors, right? But again, in order to get, as I've said, in order to get mid-level and senior level people, you have to have junior level people. And so we're running into this very weird world where basically people are not going to want to pay for the junior level people, which means more and more work is going to go to the mid and senior level people. So they're going to become more valuable. But we're going to be training less people to be in the pipeline to become mid and senior level people. And I'll be curious what that looks like in 5 to 10 years. It's one of the things I argued when everybody went to work from home. Like, work from home actually worked in 2020 because you had companies, you had organizations that were used to working in an in-person environment. So they already had the relationships. They already understood how the workflow worked. They already understood the hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. They simply had to work from home. And so people were surprised. They were surprised that work from home worked pretty well. It's like, why? You've spent years or decades building up this company culture, and now you're just forcing people to work from home, and so it's a bit of a pain in the ass, but it makes sense that it works out fine enough. The issue is again, what happens when you start bringing the junior level people on? Again, when you think about things, again, like company culture, how do you create company culture with junior level developers, junior level employees, when they never come into the office, when they're never around their water cooler, when they're never bumping into each other? Again, collisions, right? Remember back in 2015 when collisions was the big deal? That was so 2015. Now it's all work from home. Anyways, literally, they were redesigning offices to change where bathrooms were located to force people to run into each other more. Again, the idea that when HR people run into IT people, run into the developers, that this will cause collisions and revolutionize your company. We went from a world where they were changing the locations of bathrooms to make them harder to get to, so there were more collisions, to a world where now we're told, no, everybody should work at home in their pajamas. Like, what? Oh, God. I mean, when the pendulum swings in our industry, it swings hard. But anyways, the big thing to be thinking about, though, is, again, with those junior levels, how do you solidify them into the company culture? How do you verify that they're following the workflows? How do you know if they're actually progressing at a rate that seems reasonable? All of that kind of stuff. I don't know. We'll see. And I think that's why that's for me. I think we're gonna hit some really big problems in our field, and like I was saying, about that 5 to 10 year mark, because I think we're just gonna kneecap the junior levels with this just disastrous policies over 5 to 10 years, and then when we come to the next paradigm, when everything stabilizes, it'll stabilize. It always stabilizes. When everything stabilizes and we come to the next paradigm, I think we're going to be lacking basically a generation of real technology professionals. I don't know. That just might be my snark coming out. Who knows? So, anyways, yeah. Put your thoughts down below for this particular video, and yeah. See y'all later.